Gene, my dog this week is actually a new promotional gimmick. It's called Odorama, and it's being used to sell the movie Polyester, the new sleaze epic by John Waters, who makes midnight cult films. He's most famous for the outrageous movie Pink Flamingos. Polyester stars Divine, a 300-pound transvestite, opposite Tab Hunter in his movie Comeback, in the story of a frustrated suburban housewife's search for happiness. Polyester is weird, offbeat, and funny. I kind of liked it, but it's no ordinary movie. This is the first scratch and sniff movie. It has a promotional gimmick in it called Odorama, which means that you get this card with 10 numbers on it when you walk into the theater, and every time you see Divine sniffing the air on screen, a number flashes and you scratch and sniff the corresponding number on the card. Now let's see, number 1 is perfume, number 4 is oregano when they get the pizza, and number 5 is gasoline, and Spot, I don't think you'd have any trouble recognizing number 2. I hope Odorama doesn't catch on. By the end of the movie, the theater smells like an explosion in a garbage dump.
Okay, so you're knocking not the movie, but the card.
Right, Gene, this is for your files.
Thank you very much. You know, my problem when I saw the picture was I couldn't tell the difference between the pizza and the gasoline. My dog this week is yet another mad slasher movie, Happy Birthday to Me, in which a bunch of students mysteriously disappear one by one until there's only one person left who could possibly be the killer. Melissa Sue Anderson stars as a young co-ed who bears a lethal grudge against her parents because of a rotten birthday party her mother gave her as a kid. She talks with a psychiatrist, Glenn Ford, about her problems, but that doesn't help much. Maybe she should have gone to Judd Hirsch in Ordinary People. This is a disgusting, needlessly gruesome film full of stabbing, slashing, brain operations, and people being skewered like shish kebabs. Seeing it is a total waste of time. It was one happy birthday party where I wanted to make the wish and blow out the projector. Well, Roger, my dog of the week has a title guaranteed to bring a smile. Would you believe, wait till I tell the title, would you believe Disco Godfather? I suppose it could be subtitle, The Corleone Family Catches Saturday Night Fever. Actually, Disco Godfather is about a black disc jockey, Rudy Ray Moore, who attempts to rid his ghetto neighborhood of drug pushers selling lethal doses of the drug known as angel dust. But that goody-goody story turns out to be just a cover for a lot of violent action, a few horrible dream sequences, and a couple of disco dance scenes in which Rudy Ray Moore continually yells in a microphone to the dancers, "Put some weight on it, put some weight on it, put some weight on it." And then once in a while, for a change of pace, he yells,
"Put some weight on it," right?
Could have been in the picture. Actually, what could use some weight is the script of Disco Godfather, which, seriously speaking, really exemplifies the sorry state of American films featuring black people.
Gene, I think we're going to have to put some weight on my dog this week. It's a combination would-be disaster movie and would-be thriller called Avalanche Express, and anyone who can figure out what this picture is about ought to get a medal. It seems to be about an assortment of American, German, and British double and triple agents who take turns murdering and betraying each other while their train races toward and through avalanches, survives collapsing bridges, and also savage guerrilla attacks, but it's not. I don't know what it's about. Avalanche Express has the usual assortment of walk-on stars. Everyone in this movie seems to have been hired for 3 days, and nobody seems to have read the entire script. It's a shame that this was the late Robert Shaw's last film. Thank goodness he's going to be remembered for a lot of other good movies. Then there's Maximilian Schell, who seems to know he's in a terrible movie, but valiantly pretends to be having a good time. Now, how bad was this movie? Remember Meteor we talked about at the beginning of the program? That one was at least bad, but it was fun. This one is only bad.
All right, we'll skip that one. I hate those pictures with lots of stars, but nothing else. My dog is named Patrick. That's the title of a cheap horror film with lofty pretensions. It's a story of Patrick, sort of a human vegetable who's lost most of his senses, but he's developed psychokinetic powers while being kept alive flat on his back in a hospital bed by all sorts of fancy medical equipment. He's supposed to have been in a coma now for 3 years, but what do you know? He isn't in a coma. He can communicate through spitting to a pretty new nurse. 1 spit means yes, 2 spits means no. What a marvelous dinner guess this guy would make. Like some more roast beef? He gets jealous of the nurse's boyfriend, and he eventually asks her to choose either the boyfriend, a successful, handsome neurosurgeon, or choose bedridden Patrick. Some choice. Is it going to be Patrick, yes, or Patrick, no? Well, my whole vote on the whole film is decidedly.
Gene, I think that sounds like one of the worst dogs you've ever come up with. And it's kind of a hard act to follow, but I'm going to try. I'm going to say it sounds like it hits a new low, while my dog this week is entitled Up from the Depths. It's an ill-sleazo cheapo ripoff of Jaws, in which vacationers at the beach get involved in a running battle with a giant shark. The ads for the movie say the shark spoils their vacation, but I say it's their own fault for being stupid enough to jump into the water after. Why can't they just stay on the beach and throw frisbees at each other? And here's another question. How do they plan to catch the shark? You're going to love this one. After one guy is killed by the shark, his pals tie a rope around his waist and drag him behind their boat using his body as shark bait. Well, one of the women on board is a little bit disturbed and might even say she's disgusted by this maneuver. But the dead guy's pals say she should have known him when he was alive. Charlie would have wanted it this way. You never really see the shark very well, by the way. The ads kind of make him look like Jaws 3, but in the movie he looks a lot more like a killer catfish in a muddy bathtub.
We'll say to that one, too.
Well, my dog this week is called Beach Girls, and it's about 3 young women who are supposed to be teenagers in the movie. I guess they actually don't look too much over 25. One of them has an uncle who lets her use his house at the beach, and the girls decide to throw a party. To get a lot of guys to come to the party, they call it the pizza delivery man, the plumbers. Do you have a cute plumber you can send over? Even the diaper service. That's a girl. Well, that's okay. She joins the party, too, and before long, everybody's skinny dipping in the surf, making out in the sauna, and passing out in the living room. Now, you know how exciting this movie is? The big scene, the real suspense, is when the uncle who owns the house comes home, and he's not even mad, he's just disappointed that his niece let him down. Even he cheers up, and one of the niece's friends joins him in the sauna. I'll say this much for Beach Girls. It gave me a whole new appreciation for the talents of Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello in a masterpiece like Beach Blanket Bingo.
I think I have you topped this week. My dog this week is The Senior Snatch, one of the most improbably lousy movies I have ever seen. Senior Snatch is billed in advertisements as a high school sex comedy, you know, cheerleaders, all of that. But about 10 minutes into this ridiculous movie, you will be shocked when you see the action switch from the sands of Hawaii to, get this, 1808 Hawaii, where a voodoo figure is terrorizing the natives. We get about 20 minutes of this cornball, feather and drum and coconut garbage before the action switches back to a totally incongruous sex picture involving an assortment of co-eds climbing a small mountain to make love with a bearded old man. At the drive-in where I saw this picture in Hammond, Indiana, along with a very heavy makeout crowd, the film was so bad that cars started streaming out of the passion pit. And that has to be the ultimate film critique. A film so bad you can't ignore it and just have fun. Amazing.
I think you do have me topped this week. I think I'll go see Beach Girls again after that description.
From the sublime to the awful, it's Spot the Wonder Dog telling us it's time to single out the 2 worst movies of 1979. Yes, finally, the dogs of the year. Roger, go ahead.
Gee, thanks a lot, Gene. Yeah. My dog of the year is Hurricane, the multi-million-dollar flop by Dino De Laurentiis. Hurricane was set 50 years ago in the South Pacific, where a young native king and an American girl fell in love under the swaying palm trees. This is one of those movies where the lovers are always reaching out to each other speechlessly because they had nothing to say. Here they are now, Mia Farrow and Dayton Connie, fingertip to fingertip, as Dino's bargain basement sets are swept out to sea. I think I've seen this somewhere before. Hurricane was a dull 90-minute romance followed by a dull 30-minute rainstorm.
I don't know which was worse, the romance or the rainstorm?
The rainstorm, definitely.
Oh, you figured that out, okay. My dog of the year, the worst picture, is Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, an appallingly bad sequel to a pretty dumb movie to begin with. In Beyond the Poseidon Adventure, Michael Caine leads another cast of dodos through another capsized boat. It's amazing how Caine can predict the future in this movie.
That porthole's going to go at any moment. We've got to find another way out of here, and right now.
Oh, he's real smart. Some good news out of this trash. Beyond the Poseidon Adventure was a total bust at the box office, which may signal that the decade of disaster film in the 70s has come to an end. Let's hope so.
One way or another, Gene, the 70s have definitely come to an end, and here come the 80s. And that's it for this special Top 10 show. My dog this week is one of those spaghetti westerns shot in Spain on a budget of peanuts. It's called Get Mean, and it stars Tony Anthony, and its ads are really pleasant. Go ahead, they say. You've always wanted to. Get mean. The movie itself seems to exist in some kind of a time warp. Tony Anthony plays an American cowboy, regulation. He gets mixed up with hordes of barbarians and Mongols, though, who chase him around the landscape for no particular reason, except I guess he's searching for some kind of buried treasure. And there's also a girl, of course, who gasps a lot and she runs around in the sand. Maybe she's just turned on by the costumes, because Tony Anthony wears a regulation Clint Eastwood uniform, complete with his flat black hat and his blanket thrown over his shoulders, but the barbarians and the Mongols, they seem a little confused. They're not wearing costumes out of the same period. One of them even has a Viking helmet, one of those helmets with the horns on it, you know. I think his next raid ought to be on the wardrobe department.
Well, Roger, my dog is a film I happened to see in New York a few weeks ago. It's The Great Bank Hoax, one of those comic portraits of a small town where most everyone is corrupt. A whole bunch of bank officials plot together to pull off a perfect crime. The thieves are Burgess Meredith, Richard Basehart, Ned Beatty. After the bank robbery, they have trouble getting home.
Where's the car? We didn't bring the car. It's too risky.
How am I supposed to get home?
Where's your car?
In the garage. I came with you this morning.
Oh, I forgot.
A stirring action for a bank robbery picture. These guys should be robbing nursing homes, not banks. This is one of those rare films where the criminals are so unappealing we root for the cops. But there is a happy ending to all of this. Warner Brothers has pulled The Great Bank Hoax out of theatrical distribution. The only place it'll play now is on TV. Be on the lookout. For free, it's still a ripoff.
Mark of the Witch. It contains probably about the absolute minimum you can put in a movie and still call it a movie, even at $1.25. Takes place on a college campus, and it looks like it was made as a class project. A bunch of psychology students and their professor read some incantations and chants out of an old book of witchcraft, and they decide they're going to try to summon a witch during a beer party. First they have problems because the book calls for a sprig of rosemary, and all they have is some dried rosemary in a jar from Spice Islands. But then one of the co-eds, it works, and one of the co-eds is possessed by a witch who has been dead 300 years. That leads to endless scenes of the professor and the possessed woman's boyfriend drinking beer and talking about what they ought to do next. Meanwhile, there are quick flashes of the witch being hanged and frantic searches for the missing pages of the witchcraft book, the pages that would tell them what to do next. In other words, typical slice of campus life.
Well, my dog this week is Strange Behavior, another brutal mad scientist killer film. These mad scientists apparently get bored writing chemical formulas, you know what I mean? In the case of this film, a doctor, a mad doctor, is busy wiping out the firstborn son of all of his enemies in the town of Galesburg, Illinois. And I don't know what Galesburg, Illinois ever did to deserve it. They used to have a good high school basketball team when I was growing up. What's shocking about this dog is not that it's so bad. That's standard with Dogs of the Week. What's surprising is all of the big names in the cast. Louise Fletcher, an Oscar winner. Michael Murphy. I guess they needed a paycheck. But collecting it from this kind of trash, that's strange behavior. And Roger, speaking of Dogs of the Week, I want to thank all of the viewers who wrote us when I asked an innocent little question here a couple of weeks ago. I said, I have a feeling that the movie The Creeper with Hal Holbrook and a bunch of doctors going off on a trip, that movie has been retitled. It's called The Creeper when I saw it, and sure enough, it was retitled, and viewers from all over.
Did we get the mail?
I got mail at my office at the Tribune. You got it at the Sun-Times.
I got mails addressed to you, care of me.
Okay, and they all said it's Rituals, made in 1978. And I thank everyone for writing in. And it shows, I think, the viciousness of some of these film companies, or the cynical side of them, that they'll just retitle anything, and they'll just try and capitalize on the horror film genre.
Take an old movie, retitle it, sell it again. A dog by any other name is still a dog, and